for this occasion, and very encouraged to see, I think, probably twice as many people this year as we had last year. I wanted to say, my name is Carl Altef, for those of you who don't know, and I am with the Joint Baltic American National Committee, but also represent the Victims of Communism Memorial Foundation, the foundation that erected this monument in Washington. The chairman, Dr. Lee Edwards, is not able to make it today, so he sends his greetings to everybody, and we'll certainly let them know about the event. I wanted to say something also just on the significance of the day. We'll have some speakers. The three Baltic ambassadors have all agreed to speak today, and we'll be introducing them. But on behalf of JBANC, the Baltic American community, again, glad that everybody could be here. August 23rd is a significance which was really global in effect. I mean, it divided Europe, affected hundreds of millions of people. We still remember it today. And 25 years ago, and I don't know if Marina, you were going to say something about this, but there was the demonstration in Tallinn, which was really the first large mass public protest. And I know people in Estonia are commemorating that today, and as they are throughout the Baltics and throughout Central and Eastern Europe. Just another note that I should mention that when we were here a year ago, we had begun to talk about working with Congress to enact legislation to designate August 23rd as a day of remembrance, International Black Ribbon Day, for instance, as they have now in Canada, which is law for a number of years, and Europe also has a few years ago determined to reconcile its history, and it's very important, I think, that the U.S. also follows suit. Just before I left for the ceremony, I received a call from the office of Congressman Dan Lundgren from California, who we've spoken with before. He's the chairman of the House Administration Committee, and basically over his watch, they would be able to help us to either enact legislation or to have a commemoration to signify this day today. So I just wanted to let everybody know about that, and we'll certainly be in touch about that in the future. We have a meeting scheduled in a couple of weeks. But to turn it now over to Marina Kaljuran, who is the ambassador from Estonia to the United States. Marina, please.
I'll come closer. Dear Carl, dear other members of JBANC and members of the foundation, first of all, I would like to thank you for commemorating this event together with us, with the Baltic communities, with Americans, with all others. Dear friends, once again we have gathered on the 23rd of August, on the Black Ribbon Day, to commemorate the victims and to condemn the crimes of communism and Nazism. Because, as was said by Arthur Eggleton, the mayor of Toronto, the city where the idea of Black Ribbon Day was initialed in 1986, the greatest enemy of freedom is silence. So we must be. Today I would also like to mention those people who spoke on behalf of us when we were not able to do that. Among them was Estonian-Canadian Markus Hess. He was of Estonian origin, he lived in Toronto. In 1986 he was 32 years old, mechanical engineer. He was member of the Estonian Central Council of Canada, and on the 20th of August 1986 Markus said, "We want to do something for the people behind the Iron Curtain, to make their plight known. When awareness is raised, it will start to assist in defending the freedoms we have here." The idea was supported not only by Estonians, Latvians and Lithuanians, it was supported by Americans, Brits, Canadians, Australians, not only people but also authorities of those countries and cities. And in 1986 there were 21 cities all over the world that followed the initiative. Once again, those who could speak did speak on behalf of those who couldn't, as they had done numerous times before that, and as they and we are doing today. And I think it's very symbolic that Markus had his speech on the 20th of August 1986. It was exactly 5 years before, on the 20th of August 1991, Estonia regained her independence. Today we stand side by side, or as we say in Estonia, shoulder by shoulder, in Tallinn, in Riga, in Vilnius, in DC, in Toronto, all over the world, in Tbilisi. But we have to remember that the world is not free yet. And we have to remember that democracy is not everywhere yet. There are still nations and people who can't speak out loud. And it's our moral obligation to speak on behalf of them, to talk about today's day so that it will never be forgotten. And when preparing the remarks, I learned that there is a new tradition that Estonians, Latvians and Lithuanians are going to start tomorrow. It will be a 600-kilometer run from Vilnius to Tallinn. It will start tomorrow at noon, and it will be started by Lithuanian president. On Saturday they will be in Riga, and on Sunday night they will be in Tallinn before Estonian Parliament. So the day lives not only here in DC but also back at home. And having said that, I would like to lay the flowers and to light the candles in memory of those, and I would like to thank you all for coming to this event. Thank you.
Thank you, Marina. I now invite the ambassador from Lithuania, Žygimantas Pavilonas, to say a few words.
Carl, dear friends, Marina, Andrews, all colleagues. Well, usually we gather at this day in Washington, and that was one of the first events for me when I came to Washington 2 years ago. And I always have kind of strange feeling that it's kind of sad. Why? Because, well, while our numbers are growing, like Carl was saying, but it's still kind of just few of us. And those streets are so busy and so noisy. And yesterday I was reading a lot about this first captive nation proclamation that actually took 2 decades to do after Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. It was 1959 by President Eisenhower. And it also took more than half a century to erect this important memorial to commemorate victims of communism that killed the biggest number of people on this planet. And I'm always asking why it took so long and why our number of people who is gathering is so small. That is, trying to preach to this comfortable majority around the imminent dangers of totalitarian autocratic regimes that are still present. Well, I have some answers. Well, first of all, this is of course summer break. But, well, if to be a bit more serious, historically, people of freedom and democracy, they've been always in minority. And even yesterday, reading last Freedom House report that after glorious Arab Spring, we still have democracy in retreat in 26 countries. And in only 12 countries we have some kind of progress in democracy. So, as our dear friend David Kramer is trying to conclude, we have already living through the period of 6 consecutive years when democracy on global scale is on decline. Hello, David. It's kind of, as David also concludes, that it's, you know, it's the period when autocracies, not democracies, are on the march. And, you know, so what could be our conclusion? Well, we, you know, people of free and democratic nations trying to fight for freedom, we have, of course, to do everything in order to put freedom and democracy back on track. And we do it on a very different ways. Every day we are fighting and inventing our own priorities and agendas. But here I really want to concentrate on one simple thing that we can do. And referring to what Karl was saying in the very beginning, let's do everything possible that in 1 year, in 2013, during Lithuania's EU presidency, on August 23rd, we are not only commemorating this day in the streets, but we go to Congress, we go to Rotunda, the most sacred place in this town, and together with the support of Congress, we commemorate Black Ribbon Day, like it is done from 2003 in European Union by the Declaration of European Parliament, like it is done in Canada after decision of Canadian Parliament 2 years ago. Because America is a beacon of freedom. It's the oldest democracy, and it has to lead by example. And I think that, I hope that Congress will do everything possible that, you know, this day this day when 2 totalitarian regimes, you know, back in '39 was trying to build the free world, will be remembered. So let's agree, like, no, not only free embassies, but I think we can really involve a lot of other embassies, a lot of other friendly caucuses in the Congress and communities here, that we will work hard. We will have some follow-up events in Congress, maybe with Heritage Foundation, but we will try to pool our energy to make it possible and to commemorate it not only in the street, but in Congress. Thank you.
Dear Carl, dear fellow Latvians, Lithuanians, Estonians, Americans, all people that actually have gathered here today for a very, very noble cause, to honor and remember people that fell victims of one of the most atrocious, most evil ideologies that humankind had experienced, communism. Communism certainly took away millions of people in Europe, and certainly ideology and people obsessed with this ideology took away thousands and thousands of Latvians, Lithuanians, and Estonians. And for us, descendants of those people, what else we can do? Certainly we should honor the memory of our ancestors, and certainly we should remind other people of what happened last century in Europe. 23rd of August, it's a very sad day in European history. 2 regimes, Stalinist Soviet Union and Nazi Germany, strike a deal, very simple deal, on how to influence their interest in Europe, a deal on spheres of influence, in total disregard of anything that certainly was there and close to minds and hearts of people living in European countries. And because of that deal, certainly we have a number of very important dates and very good reasons to meet from time to time. Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact and a protocol to this pact certainly has not any kind of justification, nor moral, nor legal, nor whatsoever. It simply was evil act to influences in Europe. And that happened. Europe was divided. On one side, actually, became parts of Central and Eastern Europe, part of Northern Europe, including Baltic nations. Finns escaped that fate. And I'm very pleased, really, to be here in Washington today to say just few words, but those words that certainly, I hope, illustrate the determination of my country and of this embassy and of this ambassador to do something here in Washington to make sure that memory is kept alive and that we dignify and honor the people that perished, including in my family, last century. Thank you, Carl, and thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Before we begin to wind down, and would like to take a picture with everybody here as well before we finish, but I'd like to call on Danila Vadutis from the Lithuanian American community also to say a few words.
When elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers. The terrible years that started in 1939, where Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia did not end with the war in 1945, but moved into 5 decades of brutal occupation, deportation, and destruction, and scars that extend into the 21st century. Those of us who have never known war find it hard to understand the horror, the terror, the helplessness, the inhumanity that ensued. We can only pay witness as we are doing today. And I'd also like to recall that in 1989, we were able to see how a wonderful unity was developed as the Baltic Freedom Way extended all the way through Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. I'm very happy to hear about the run that's being scheduled, so we can see that out of this horrible act of terror, we're moving forward into the future, and hopefully this will result in something that is uplifting rather than just a day of mourning.
I'd also like to recognize a special person here today, David Wilson. I saw you there. David is the Vice President of the Atlantic Council. I don't know, David, if you'd like to say something, perhaps? It'd be wonderful.
Thank you, Carl. I'm Damon Wilson, Executive Vice President of the Atlantic Council, and I just wanted to thank all of you for turning out today. The symbolism of this memorial is something that's very important, certainly to all of you, your families, but certainly to my country as well. And I think that it's become far too easy to forget the past, forget what happened in many of the countries of your heritage. And as policymakers today, I think it's important that we keep that in mind where we're going forward and how we think about Europe and think about our relationships with countries today. We have here ambassadors that are among the closest allies of the United States, countries to which we had the moral courage to stand up and not recognize the occupation of during the Cold War, and who have had, and now that their independence and sovereignty have the strength and determination to be strong allies of the United States. And I think that's something that we can't take for granted, we must invest and cultivate. And it's by the activities of folks, of many of you, by remembering days like today, that helps us keep in mind the right trajectory, the right compass for our policy today. I don't have the powerful stories that all of you have about how some of your relatives, some of you yourselves suffered as victims of communism. But I did grow up in a small town in rural North Carolina where my best friend at the time was a Romanian child whose father was a dissident from the Ceausescu era. And at a very young age, living in rural North Carolina, I came to know what communism meant and how evil it could be and how it destroyed the family of my best friend growing up in North Carolina. And I've kept that with me close to my heart as I've done policy throughout much of my career. And it's why I'm so proud to know many of you, to work with many of you, and look forward to times when we can look back on this dark chapter of history and be so proud of what you've accomplished and where we're going today. So thank you very much for gathering today. I'm honored to be a part of it.